I have a question for you. What if money didn't exist? Let's pretend that all the cash in the entire world just disappeared. Every single banknote, every coin, it's all gone. How would we function? What would we use to buy things? For this thought experiment, let's assume that all the money in the world disappearing didn't cause an economic collapse or some other global catastrophe. It just kind of magically vanished one day, and now we're in a world without money. How would we go about our daily lives? In modern society, we use money as a medium of exchange, a way to compare the value of goods and services so that we can trade them. Without money, we would need another way to determine the relative value of things. And since we're a modern, technologically advanced society, we could use math. Say if I had a really complicated mathematical equation that took me a long time to figure out, maybe 2 hours of my time, I could use that to determine the relative value of something. So if I needed a haircut, and the barber also needed a haircut, we could say that one haircut is equal to 2 hours of highly advanced mathematical equation solving. And then if I needed a new bike, I could work out how many haircuts are equivalent to the cost of the bike and trade time with the bike shop owner. But there is a problem with using math as a medium of exchange. Math is rather abstract. You see these symbols and you understand them in relation to other symbols and their relation to real things. But at its core, it doesn't have any real inherent value. For example, what is the value of pi? Pi is a mathematical concept that has no physical manifestation. It's just a number. But pi has value because we assign value to it. We say that pi is equal to the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, which happens to be approximately 3.14159. But if we decided to change the definition of pi to be equal to the 0.309083, if we change the definition of pi to be anything we want, then the value of pi would change to whatever we want it to be. Since money is ultimately based on people agreeing that it has value, we could just agree that the value of a haircut is $1 and the value of a bike is $100, and we wouldn't need to use math at all. In fact, we could do this with anything. We could say that the value of this banana is 1 and the value of your time is 10 bananas. The value of the Mona Lisa is 1,000,000 bananas, and so on. Okay? But what if we want to get rid of using bananas altogether? What if we want to come up with a more sophisticated system? Well, we could use something like labor to determine the value of things. Labor is pretty easy to measure. All we need to do is count how many hours a particular task takes to perform. The more labor required to produce something, the more expensive it is. The problem with using labor to determine value is that not everyone's time is equally valuable. An hour of my time spent creating educational content is much more valuable than an hour of, say, a farmer's time spent growing food. This is because my specialized skills are currently more in demand than the farmer's skills. Therefore, if we used labor to determine the value of things, then the price of things would vary depending on who was buying them. Using labor as a measure of value would make bartering much more complicated. So we need something else, something that accounts for the subjective, constantly changing, highly variable nature of human labor. We need something more absolute. That's when we turn to precious metals like gold and silver. Throughout history, they have retained their value. They haven't changed much over the years. Gold and silver are rare, difficult to acquire, and have a consistent chemical composition. This means that they are reliable to use as a medium of exchange. So here we are back where we started. Money is just shiny pieces of metal that we assign value to. There is nothing special about them except that we all agree that they have value. This is why the government stops producing more of them. If they keep printing more and more money, then the value of each individual piece of money will decrease because there is just too much of it. Imagine if someone handed you 100 brand new $1 bills. You might be pretty happy, but then you look closely at the bill and you realize that it says $100, not $1. So the government needs to carefully manage the money supply to ensure that each unit retains its value. This is a fun little thought experiment, but it doesn't really help us understand how to fix our current monetary system. If you want to learn more about what's wrong with our current monetary system and how we can fix it, stay tuned.